Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ken Kettenbill, Vice Chancellor for External Relations, and welcome to our third annual, I believe, conversation with the Chancellor. And for those of you that are new, maybe to the campus community, we started this about a year ago when Chancellor Grasso started, and he wanted an opportunity to share updates with the campus and, more importantly, engage in some conversation towards the end. So we're going to do that today, and then we're going to be joined by some guests up on stage, looks a little empty here, that are going to report out, working group chairs are going to report out on some of the progress that has taken place for the strategic planning process. So with that, good morning, Domenico.
Good morning, Ken.
Our last conversation was in the spring, so you've been here for a little over a year now. Softball question, but any observations that you want to share? Impressions of the campus, what have you learned, those types of things?
Well, my initial impressions were that the campus was well run, and the faculty and staff were doing a terrific job and were enthusiastic. I think that that's been reaffirmed for sure. One of the things that has really been brought home to me is how challenging an endeavor our students are facing when they come here. And talking to students, and I've been meeting with students, thanks to Amy, in my conference room, and I'll ask them how many are working, and all of them raise their hand. I'll ask them how many are working more than one job, and the majority are raising their hands. How many have familial responsibilities? Many of them are raising their hands. These are things that I knew on paper, but talking to the students and really getting a sense of their challenges has really been sobering for me, and really has committed me to redoubling my efforts to make sure that we can best serve them as they come through our halls.
So, probably a different student body than what you experienced at Delaware.
Oh, for sure, for sure. This is much different than any of the student bodies that I've worked with in the past, but it's the reason that I came here. It's the reason that I'm excited to be here, and it's really, I think, it's what really drives me every day.
I attended, as you did, the Alumni Leader Awards earlier this month, or end of September, I believe. This was your first opportunity to experience that. You were out of town last time. There was a welcome video, and I think you were really impressed with the alumni that were recognized this year. Do you want to comment on, our students have so many challenges going in. A lot of our alumni talked about that when they were giving their speeches, and I know you reflected on that at the ceremony.
Yep, I was very impressed with our alums. They were remarkable, both in terms of the challenges that they had to overcome, but then after they graduated, they accomplished things that would have been equivalent to people who had no challenges that were similar to this, that had gone to similar top-ranked programs. They were a very impressive group of people. And it really underscores a book that I've asked my senior leadership to read, and I know I've beaten this into the ground. It's a book by Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset, and it really, it's been used in universities and private corporations around the country, and it's about people who have the right mindset and what they can accomplish. And you don't have to necessarily start with all this privilege to outperform people who do actually start with all this privilege, as long as you have the right mindset and you continue to grow with every opportunity that you have. And I think that that is really characteristic of this university and of not only of our students, but our faculty and staff as well.
No, it was definitely, that was on full display at the Alumni Awards for sure. So you've been busy, we've all been busy. Over the last year or so. Any key university accomplishments you want to reflect on?
Well, some of the major accomplishments that we've had are hiring new personnel, because we've had a lot of our very accomplished leaders have decided to retire or otherwise leave, so we've had to fill their vacancies, and we've been very fortunate to have attracted some of the very best, I think, people that are available for these positions. For instance, we have Melissa Stone. Melissa, you want to stand up? Everybody, she is our new Vice Provost for Enrollment Management. We have Gary Gorski. Where's Gary? I just saw him. Our new
There he is.
Chief of Police and Public Safety. We have Elu Murphy, who's our interim Vice Provost for Research. Is Elu here? She is not here, but she's our, we created the position of Vice Provost for Research. Let me just talk about that for a minute. And you may be thinking that I want to increase the role of research on this campus. And you're right, I do. And the reason I do is not because I want to become an R1. It's not because I want to compete with Michigan State, Wayne State, or Michigan, and the other Michigan, our sister campus in Ann Arbor. It's because I think if we increase our research metabolism on this campus, we will have opportunities for our undergraduate students here to work in research laboratories, in the field, in research programs with our outstanding faculty, and then they can not necessarily need to work in Kroger or at Walmart or at the car wash, and that they can enhance their experience, their academic experience, and continue to make money, and they can help support themselves through their educational process, and at the same time get an increased educational experience. So that's why I am very committed to trying to increase our research metabolism. Moreover, we've contracted with a firm called McAllister and Quinn out of Washington, D.C. They have been very successful in helping universities such as ourselves increase their research capability and capacity. And part of our contract with them is that they are going to help us submit and hopefully win a major grant in their first year here. And then hopefully if they do a good job there, we will continue working with them to enhance our capacity in that regard as well.
So what type of things will they be doing exactly?
They're going to be identifying opportunities for us in areas that we think that we have strengths so that we can leverage that, and then they'll help us write the proposals. And some of these proposals are large proposals, and they cross many disciplines, and they have to be professionally written and professionally assembled. And that's, and research offices at major research universities like Ann Arbor have people in those offices that can do that. We don't necessarily have that capacity in our office, so we're subcontracting that for right now. Hopefully in the future we'll be building our own capacity.
So I'm assuming with their services, they have strong contacts with people that are going to be able to provide those funds for us in those collaborations.
Well, yes, they have relationships with agencies and they can open doors for us, but we'll still have to provide the goods.
And expertise, perfect.
Yep.
And then the other key leadership position was Cassandra.
Oh yeah, of course, and Cassandra's out of town. We just hired a terrific Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, Cassandra Albridge, and she's also President of the State Board of Education, so she's well connected in the overall educational profile of the state, and she is out on a development trip right now. So and in her short period here, she's uncovered a lot of our successful alums that were flying under our radar screen, but now we've brought them to the fore, and we will be visiting them and reminding them of how instrumental this institution was in their success, and hopefully they will be very grateful for that.
In terms of? So anyone that knows the Chancellor, strong love for the University of Michigan, Michigan football. Mm-hmm. I think that I've experienced that sense of pride that you have for Ann Arbor really has spread over to this campus, and your deep pride for the University of Michigan-Dearborn. Talk a little bit about why that's important and some of the things that you helped push along, things that maybe we were doing that we revamped and reconsidered.
Well, I do think that there is a great deal of pride in the University of Michigan in a very large sense. I think that there's a great deal of pride on this campus for being a branch of the Michigan family tree. And one of the things that I've been trying to do is really get everybody to be very vocal and outright about their pride so that we can start to spread the news. And we, I think, have been hiding our light under a basket for quite some time now. And I'd like to make sure that we take that basket off and that everybody can see this light. One of the things that we did was we provided bumper stickers for all of our students, faculty, and staff, and free of charge, and hopefully that they will start to put them on their cars, because we purchase billboards, right? And this, from my perspective, is a lot of different billboards driving around for us. We've got 9,500 students here. If everybody had a bumper sticker on their car, then a lot of people would be at least seeing our name out there. But it is, being part of the Block M is one of the biggest attractions of this particular campus. That Block M carries a lot of weight, and we should be very proud of that, and I'm trying to get Pride to be a major part of what we're thinking about when we talk about UM-Dearborn. We just had Steve Forrest, who was a former vice president for research in Ann Arbor, speaking at the Thought Leader series last week as part of our strategic planning effort. And before he spoke, he was in my office, and he had been to Princeton before, and he was saying how, you know, the Pride at Michigan just overwhelms any Pride that was at Princeton, and that there are so many places that would love to have a school like Michigan in their state. But if the University of Michigan moved to another state, the state would have to change its name, because the Block M trumps any kind of state pride.
Also, too, I know we had a very successful Convocation Day that was rethought. There was a lot of great work by many people in this audience, and it really, you know, having attended the old version and the new version, there did seem to be this renewed sense of pride that incoming not renewed, but there were the incoming students felt really part of something special.
That's absolutely true. We redid Convocation so that it was engaging, it wasn't stuffy, and Amy did a terrific job of organizing that. I unfortunately missed it this year because my wife Susan and I were at our son's wedding, and we had to miss it this year, but we're not going to miss any more unless other of our children get married. But we will definitely. Not on that weekend. And not on that weekend, right? We'll plan around that. But we will. I think it was a terrific event. From everything I've seen and heard, that everybody loved it. And we had many more. We had almost 800 students attend that, and in the past we had half that many. So this was really an attractive way to build pride and to start their academic careers.
And then also, you've been doing some presentations on behalf of U of M-Dearborn out in Ann Arbor.
Yes, President Schlissel was generous enough to invite me and Deborah Duda, the new chancellor for the Flint campus, to speak to the President's Advisory Group, which is the highest level donors at the university. So it'd be Steve Ross and Rich Rogel and a lot of people of that ilk, Hank Meyer. And we were able to talk about the exciting things that are happening on our campus. So we're really starting to let other folks know the pride that exists on our campus. And I also spoke at the Detroit Alumni Club, which is another opportunity, because again, they are focused on Ann Arbor largely, but we're trying to bring this Dearborn pride out to a lot of different audiences.
And I think President Schlissel's group, that was a first.
That was a first,
our
right?
campus
Right.
to be invited to that. So
right. I don't think that group knew that there were regional campuses.
Oh, they do. So strategic planning. I know we're going to be talking a lot about that. Our working group chairs are here, but we've kicked it off almost a year ago, back in December, with the white paper. There have been working groups formed. There's been a lot of meetings. There's been a lot of buzz, a lot of conversation. You've been visiting a lot of these working groups. Your thoughts on where we are with the process, observations that you've taken away from attending those working group meetings?
Well, I've been excited by what's been happening. We have almost 150 people in all across the campus working in the different subgroups, and there's a lot of enthusiasm there. And my understanding from what they are presenting as initial ideas are very exciting, and we're asking for an interim report by the end of this month, and then the final report at the beginning of the next academic year. And we're hoping for some early wins that we can launch out as quickly as possible, and then some long-term plans that we'll implement as appropriate over time and with the appropriate resources. But it's, I think, an exciting time to really rethink how we're looking at the university and how we're organizing and how we're planning for the future.
Perfect. So with that, I will invite our co-chair of the strategic planning process, Deborah Smith-Pollard, as well as the working group chairs. If you could come up, there's going to be some chairs brought up here on the stage and join us, and it's your opportunity to report out on some of the progress that your groups have been working on. There's some mics. Yep, we're just going to share a mic. So I'll start with Deborah. You co-chair of the initiative. If you wanted to share your thoughts, I know you've been active participating in the groups and observing and very engaged in the process. Your thoughts on where we are with the process.
Well, first let me say good morning to everybody. You look so serious. Okay, it's Monday, but let's not try to look that serious. Let me just say one of the most impressive things for me is something that the Chancellor already said, which was that so many people signed up. And because a lot of them know me, there were people who were emailing me asking what groups to get on, if they could get on a group. Why hadn't they heard from the group? Because they wanted to hurry up and be a part of it. That was exciting to me because I wish I could say I've always been highly active across all kinds of committees, but I haven't. There have been very specific things that I was hired to do and that I was focused on doing. But being the co-chair for this has made me listen to different kinds of voices from other colleges. And the most exciting thing to me was that, oh my God, some of them are as invested in these students and in this campus as I have always felt that I was, and that was really good to hear. The groups that I've attended, Student Success and the Teacher Scholar / Scholar Teacher, whichever way you want to flip it, committee are so focused on making sure that our students have a quality time on this campus. And more importantly, not just a quality time, but that they, as I always say, cross that finish line, that they actually graduate. And so hearing so many different voices talking about ways that they think we can get these students more engaged and get them graduated in less time with less debt. It was really exciting to me to hear. So that's been my experience, and thanks everybody for all your emails. That's been interesting too.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start down at the end with Mitch, who is one of the co-chairs for Student Experience and Success. Mitch, it's all about students. That's why we're here. Deborah talked about them crossing the finish line. That's all of our goals in the shortest amount of time as possible. But if you could share what your group has been working on.
Sure, thank you. So our group is approximately 45 staff, faculty, and students. What we did is Amy Finley and myself, who co-chair this group, subdivided the work into 6 subgroups. And so those subgroups have been meeting regularly since June. Those subgroups range from topics around eliminating financial policy and process barriers to graduate success and closing lingering equity gaps, just to name a few. We subdivided the group because there are 45 individuals, and there's just no way we could meet regularly and deliberate about such an important topic on student experience and success without having the work subdivided. We picked these areas because they are challenging areas that all universities are struggling with when it comes to what their students are facing with experience and success issues. So this group, as I said, has been meeting at least monthly since June. The subgroups have been meeting more frequently, sometimes weekly. The subgroups have also met with students, because obviously students are very important to the topic at hand of experience and success. We actually are having a larger student focus group later this month to talk to students. We've been looking at data, a lot of national surveys. We administer a NESI survey, a SERP survey. Our campus does regularly, so we've been looking at that. We've been looking at institutional data, particularly the data that's been coming from the scanning group that Becky Chadwick, I don't know if she's in the audience, that she led a group earlier on in the strategic planning process, so that data was very invaluable, informative. So finally, besides just meeting and looking at data, the subgroups have been coming together to issue an interim report. Out of that interim report, a lot of great ideas have come about. So for example, our technology team is focused on the digital divide our students are facing and offered a number of ways to address issues in that area. Our equity team has identified mental health access as an area of opportunity. And then finally, our financial policy and process barriers group has suggested that we possibly pilot a program similar to Ann Arbor's Comprehensive Studies program. So that's just to name a few, but the group's doing a lot of great work, and we appreciate all of the information and great participation we've had so far in the process. So thank you.
Okay, next is Carol Glick, who will talk about resources, structures, efficiency, and management. And I know you have two co-chairs on your committee.
Yes, so our team is co-chaired by Alir Matiza and Raju Balakrishnan as well. So, good morning. I just wanted to talk briefly. The RSEM Strategic Planning Team is charged with generating ideas around resources, structures, efficiencies, and management on the campus. Our team consists of our 3 co-chairs as well as 16 different faculty and staff members from diverse areas of the campus. We began meeting in June on a weekly basis, and in September split into 2 subgroups, which are currently meeting bi-weekly. We began this summer by drafting a strategy map for a future balanced scorecard. We started with the mission and the vision of the university as it was posted on the website, and then we integrated the thinking of our senior leaders into a working vision statement. Then we incorporated the thinking of the chancellor from his charge document to the strategic planning group in terms of strategic priorities and also in terms of expected results. We then put that document aside and turned to generating ideas. At that point, we took some of our core members and we asked them to talk about what their thinking was of each of the strategic priorities that the campus should really consider at this time. We talked through all of those and concluded that they really fell under essentially 2 fairly broad categories. The first one was around making the University of Michigan-Dearborn a widely recognized destination of choice for students. And the second one was creating and maintaining a student-centric environment, both with our culture and with our infrastructure. So we then engaged in a structured brainstorming process, and we went back as well to the environmental scanning document to make sure that we captured the work of that team. And the team, through this process, identified 108 separate ideas around these 2 broad initiatives. We then took those ideas and supported them, and divided them into the 5 strategic planning priorities and focused our attention on those that fell within the RSEM strategic group. So at this point, we have narrowed our focus to 4 broad ideas. The first one is to establish our unique identity as the University of Michigan-Dearborn and engage every single faculty and staff in the recruitment and the retention of our students. The second one is to create a compelling case for students to come to the University of Michigan, preferably as freshmen, for a 4-year college experience. Idea 3 is that we have a strong model to encourage students to remain throughout their entire college experience and graduate from the University of Michigan. And number 4 is to develop an innovative system that allows our faculty to fully engage their passions in teaching, research, and service. As we go forward, we'll summarize and submit these ideas for review at the end of this week, and then we will continue to develop those ideas that resonate, working collaboratively with all of the strategic planning groups, and then reaching out to the broader campus constituency as well between now and the middle of November when we submit our final report. We really want to express our appreciation for the opportunity to provide this update and also for the support that everyone has given and will continue to give through this process. Thank you very much.
Next, Rima, to talk a little bit about staff development.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rima. I co-chair the Staff Development Working Group. My
Can I have the
co-chair,
other
Brian, is this not working?
No, here.
Staff Development in progress.
Okay, now it's working.
Thank you.
They
All
work
right,
better
there we
when
go. Okay, so I'm Rima. Welcome. I chair the Staff Development Working Group, and Brian Earl is seated in the audience, is my co-chair. I see so many members of the Staff Development Working Group here in the audience, and I have to say, we are an excited, dedicated group of staff members. We come together, we love the work that we do, and it clearly shows in everything we've done so far. So we are a group of about 34 staff members, give or take a few. We meet every 2 weeks, and we've been meeting since the end of the summer to talk about the different things that we can do to help grow our staff. And on the weeks that we don't meet, we have subgroups that meet. And so we're constantly thinking about what we can do to enhance the learning and the skills of our staff members here. Obviously, the end goal for us is student success. But what does that mean for the folks that come in every day and do their best? And so at our very first meeting this summer, we had a great session where we generated so many ideas, so many great ideas, some crazy off-the-wall ideas, but a lot of really good, legitimate things that we could try to accomplish for our staff here on campus. And so what we decided to do after that meeting was break them up into some subgroups. So our staff working group does have 5 different working groups. The first one is formal training, development, and learning. So these are traditional methods for learning and beyond. We have a mentorship and job shadowing group. So how do we develop skills from other experts across campus? The third working group, subgroup, is leveraging technology and electronic resources. So how are we using varied methods online to enhance our skills? The next sub-working group is building learning cultures in communities of practice. What does it mean to develop a campus culture to promote learning from each other and to constantly be in a mindset of learning and growth? And then, of course, the last sub-working group is the succession planning group. How do we create an opportunity for every staff member to have a career roadmap from the time they join us until the time they retire? How can we ensure that people are feeling fulfilled by the work that they're doing and feeling highly satisfied and engaged in the work they do on a daily basis? So we are a great team. We are working on that interim report, hoping to get that in very soon. We always throw it out there. If there are staff or folks who are interested in coming to any of our meetings, they are open meetings. We are always welcoming new ideas, even at this late stage of the game. And we're very excited. Thank you.
And then next is Tony England, who is chairing the Public Prominence Awareness Partnership and Community Engagement, also a very large group, and you have a couple co-chairs as well.
Yes, the other 2 co-chairs are Beth Memorelli and Jessica Camp. And frankly, they will have to speak for what's going on in their areas. These areas are so large that each of us are pretty much working separately. My group is having, the subgroup is having, our focus is on what we call partnerships, but it's more the formal partnership. It's the research activities and the outreach activities. On the research side, we've compiled all of the sources, whether it's federal, state, or industry sponsors, and then we will work to share those more with the other colleges. The College of Engineering, of course, has had these relationships for some time, and it's very important now to share them and bring some of the other colleges more into the sponsored research area. The area on outreach, we had, College of Engineering had been, well, first of all, we're very aware we're in a draw area where there are a lot of students who have SAT and ACT scores to go to a selective university and never even apply. The reasons they don't is because the peers don't do it, so they don't think they should. The parents didn't go to college, so they don't see the value. They have misconceptions about what the cost of college is. They have misconceptions about what different careers are like. Engineering, for example, has changed so rapidly that if you talk to people who aren't current in what modern engineering is, they still picture people in dark, dirty places hammering on things, and or running railroads, I don't know. But anyway, so the outreach in engineering had been focused more on how to be sure that some of the students in our draw area had some knowledge about what modern engineering was and could make informed decisions that might motivate them to take the math in K-12 that they need to succeed in engineering. All of this really applies to all of the colleges, and I think we need to think of the outreach more broadly. So what our group is trying to do is to link outreach to enrollment, and we were never able to do that in the past. I think with our new enrollment manager, Melissa, and I get my first meeting with her tomorrow, we're exploring, we've compiled all of the outreach programs for the last 3 years from all of the units on campus, and looking at them for their value to how they might guide us into an outreach program that actually influences our enrollments. So that's pretty much where we are. And I think it's a pretty exciting possibility for the university here, because there is so much potential that's untapped. And much of this potential, if they get into the professional fields, will earn enough on co-ops and internships to actually afford to go to a campus like ours. So anyway, I'm optimistic.
A couple follow-up questions to anyone on the working group. So any crazy ideas or big ideas that came up that you could share? Not necessarily say we're going to implement them, but anything catch you by surprise? You're not working hard enough if that's not happening.
Well, one of the things
Anything
that I assumed that all the colleges were doing a lot of outreach, and it turns out that they're not. I guess engineering saw that need just to educate what a future engineer would be doing, and why we started that. But I think all of the colleges need to be sharing what their careers mean for students whose parents didn't go to college.
And then can you talk a little bit about how the working groups are working together? I mean, are there arguments? Are there vigorous debates? I attended one of them and it was very cordial, but I'm just curious. I mean, because I know a lot of groups have been meeting for many months now, so. Have you lost any members? Nothing.
Weekly or monthly, rather, with the senior leadership and the chairs of the working groups, just to make sure that we are sort of heading down towards a common path, and also to make sure that we're not independently working on the same thing. And I think that process has been successful in terms of helping us collaborate and making sure that when we get to the end, we'll be working in concert with each other.
I can speak for the staff working group. We typically meet in one of the UC rooms. It's very loud, so when you walk by on Tuesday afternoons, if you hear a lot of laughter and energy, that's us. We're all enjoying the time and space together, and that's intentional because we want people to come into each meeting with an open mind, lots of energy, lots of thoughts around how can we be ourselves only better. And so one of the crazy ideas we're kicking around, maybe not so crazy, but still I think could be transformational for us as a staff, is we've identified such a strong need, obviously, for consistent training on this campus. And so one of the things we're throwing out there is the idea of building a staff learning or curriculum lab that's designated where we can hold all of our staff learning here on campus. It stops us from having to send folks out to Ann Arbor, so reducing our carbon footprint, which I think is relevant right now based on what we learned on Friday. But in addition to that, really bringing our staff together in an opportunity to learn and continue to grow right here locally. So we're really excited about that potential.
I would just like to add that we have all these working groups, and they mentioned it, but I just want to reinforce it, that even though they have different topics that they're dealing with, they're all rolling up to one topic, and that's student success. And whether it's how we do outreach or how we organize our staff for their success or our other operations on this campus, it's all about student success. And one of the things that is, I would say, unique about this campus, and it may be shared with other campuses, so unique may be too strong a term, is that we are a family. And one of the things that Susan and I have been trying to do is really reinforce that. And we've been trying to have events at the residence to try to bring folks in as part of the family. We had our first year this year where we invited new faculty and their families to the residence, and we invited some of our administrators to join us, and Armin just reminded me of that when I was looking at him. But that's one of the things we're doing. Next year, I think that we might extend that to not just faculty and their families, but staff and their families, and really start to build a sense of, a real sense of family here, and try to make that part of what is unique and differentiating about this campus. And that will help, I think, with our commitment to student success. So these are all things that we're trying to do together.
So this is a great segue. We have another event a week from today. The Regents will be on campus hosting a community forum, and there are 3 topics that they said that they would like to address. Student success is one of those. But Domenico, if you can talk a little bit about what the Regents want to get out of this meeting, and then maybe how it ties into our strategic planning process.
Well, I think that the Regents, and I think a lot of credit goes to Mark Schlissel on this, is they are increasingly interested in the regional campuses, because Mark has made it a priority to really take an interest in the regional campuses and to utilize the capacity of the regional campuses. So the Regents hear from me frequently, and they hear at length from me frequently about the successes and the excitement on this campus. And I think they want to come and hear firsthand what's happening on the regional campuses. And I hope that many of you come and express your enthusiasm and pride in our campus for the Regents, so that they can also have that same sense of pride. I just do want to remind you that in the recent U.S. News & World Report, we were ranked the #1 regional public university in the state of Michigan and the #4 regional public university in the Midwest, which is terrific. And we should really try to promote this, and we are going to promote this. We're going to have billboards, right, Ken? Launching soon,
Not
right?
bumper stickers,
Billboards,
big billboards on freeways.
the big ones that are going to make that point. But I hope you come, and I think the Regents want to hear from the community, because they are only hearing from me on what's happening on this campus, and they want to get firsthand information. So I encourage you to come and share your thoughts with the Regents.
And that is a week from today, from 4 to 5 over in Fairlane Center, Quaddy, and I think there's a reminder that's going to go out today. Final question before we open it up to your questions for Domenico. There's been some buzz around a topic that you have thrown out, that's something that you think could be a differentiator for U of M-Dearborn, something to align our university behind. It's called Urban Futures. If you could, what is that, and how do you see U of M-Dearborn playing a role in this initiative, and what should we be thinking about as a campus community as we sort through all of that?
That's a great question, Ken. I do think that this is an opportunity for us, an inflection point for this campus. The future of our planet is increasingly urban. Right now, 55% of the population of this planet lives in urban areas. By 2050, it'll be 66%, and it's only going to continue to increase. We are right next door to a major urban area, a post-industrial urban area that is rethinking everything about its future. Urban Futures is about what the future of an urban environment is going to look like. I've talked a little bit in the past about smart cities, and smart cities are going to be part of this urban environment, but it's going to go beyond that. The Japanese have coined a phrase called Society 5.0, and that's what we're entering into at a very rapid rate of speed. Society 1.0 were the hunter-gatherers. Society 2.0 was when we moved to an agrarian society, and instead of migrating from location to location hunting, we settled down and started farming. Society 3.0 was the Industrial Revolution. And for better or for worse, everything that we're facing today is majorly connected to the Industrial Revolution, whether it's all the advances in technology or the pollution. And then we went into Society 4.0, which was at the end of the last century, which was the information age. We could get information on pretty much anything at any time at our fingertips. And now we're moving into Society 5.0, and that is a society where everything is connected, where we have the Internet of Things, where we have sensors, where we have big data, where we have complex systems, where we have AI algorithms making decisions for us, where the auto companies are thinking about mobility. And that's just on the technology side. On the other side, we have education that is changing at a rapid rate because of technology. We have policy issues that we have to deal with in urban areas in terms of land use development, mobility, social equity issues. We have fintech, financial technology in the business world, where stores are becoming an oddity. Everybody is doing their shopping online. So what does all this mean for the future of urban areas, especially when there aren't going to be stores in these urban areas because everybody's going to be shopping through Amazon. We have drones. We have all sorts of things that we are going to have to face in the future. What is unique about, and a lot of universities are dealing with aspects of this, what is unique about this university is that we have low enough energy barriers between and among the colleges that we can look at this in a holistic systems way, that we're not just going to focus on the technology of smart cities. We're not just going to focus on the social equity issues. We could bring all of this together and look at the whole system here. So I've asked all of the deans, each of the deans, to consider a senior hire in this Urban Futures area. And they can choose whatever area they want. But if we have a senior faculty member in each of the colleges, and then those faculty members can get together and start thinking holistically about large center proposals, large projects that they could work on Urban Futures, this could be a real differentiator for this university. And I think it's an exciting time. It's really going to be up to the faculty to decide where they want to go in this space. The space is so big that everyone should see an opportunity for themselves in it. And some deans are so eager about this, they've identified 2 positions that they want to go after. They're not wasting any time on this topic. So I'm very excited about what this might mean for the future of our campus as a leader, not just regionally, but globally in Urban Futures.
I think that's important. I mean, I think when you hear those types of topics, I think, at least in my mind, you immediately go to the technical side of things, but there are so many other aspects that are tied into it. So.
Yep. And health, I left out health, of course. Urban health is a major component of that, and we have a very strong health program here.
Okay, now we're into the conversation part. So if you have any questions, Mike and Maria are going to walk around the audience with a mic, and I think our provost has the
Yes.
first question.
I'm always worried when the provost has the first question.
I just wanted to segue off of this conversation. Ken asked if there were any big ideas coming out, and certainly Urban Futures is an enormously compelling theme for us to move forward on. The deans had a retreat, and our contribution to Ken's question about a big idea is the following. You know that Olin University College is a engineering college, and they kind of do gen ed on the side. We were thinking, what if we had a track of gen ed that was entirely project-based? Olin, the entire curriculum is project-based except for gen ed. But if you think about it, we could do general education, not all of it, there would still be a DDC, but a track through general ed that's not class-based, but project-based, and brings to bear on key concepts and issues of urban futures, bringing all the different disciplines to bear on that project going across the entire 4 years. So it's just, Maureen Linker is heading up an exploration of this. Nothing's been decided, but it is a big idea that has emerged from this and could really be an important component of the pedagogical side of the urban futures theme.
Additional questions, comments?
Good morning, Maria, College of Winter 95, College of Business. But I also looked to Dean England for a lot of inspiration and championship. I recently became and got funded through a firm downtown Detroit for some pro bono work to establish the Metro Detroit Inventors Foundation, and I work very closely with the patent office. I'll be down tomorrow for a whole day seminar, and I just wanted to highlight something that Dean England mentioned, and that is we really need outreach, but we are in our community here in Southeast Michigan, and the regional center for the patent office serves 9 states at a hardship because they let go of the educational outreach coordinator. And so I'm hoping through my foundation and hopefully by growing the alliance with the university here to really strengthen that gap, because what we do here in Southeast Michigan impacts 9 states and then consequently the United States as a whole. So I'm hoping and asking in this public forum for a little bit of alumni support, even if it's just morale and a phone call down to a director who came from 28 years of experience at Ford. Thank you.
But this is your chance to ask questions. Those donuts aren't free. You have to.
Yeah, I'm the faculty from the College of Business. I think our university's idea is so good. However, like for Michigan people, so how should we help them realize the technology world? Because when I talk with a lot of people, it seems that they still lived in the old good days. So then as a university, and how can we help them, help the Michigan people realize how important the STEM program will be and how the future work will be? Because I just feel a lot of people lack of this kind of knowledge.
Well, that's a very good question, and that goes to the outreach issue here. And we're working with the deans and with Ken's office and with Melissa to really think about how we can get our branding out there and what the unique opportunities of this university are to help the state of Michigan, not just in terms of talent, but in terms of actual knowledge creation that could be addressed directly to the issues that this state is facing. And I think that if we focus on something like urban futures, it's just going to be a natural connection to helping southeastern Michigan to begin with, but then it can go well beyond that. And I think that you're absolutely right. What we do here is terrific as it is now. It's only going to get better, but we can't hide our light under a basket. And that's where we really have to be very vocal about the pride we have in this university and what we're doing here.
Hi,
I'm Lori from the Talent Gateway. I just had a question for Dane England's group. So when you're talking about outreach, it sounds like a lot of it is coming up to college, but also working with businesses as well. Is that true?
They want to help us as much as they can, yes, and our alumni do too.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the question that I have then is thinking of, from the employer standpoint, I'm guessing that working with BEC is a part of what you guys are doing.
We do.
And I'm curious about the promotion of co-op and internship opportunities with those organizations so we can get more students of
Yeah.
all disciplines out there getting work experience.
Absolutely. No, I really think the co-op program is important, and it's we're not doing it at the scale we should be doing it. And I make the distinction between co-ops and internships. The co-op program, because there are faculty involved, there's feedback to the university on what the students are experiencing. So we look in engineering as a co-op, as the co-op is not only a way that a student can earn enough money to pay tuition and come to the university, and also gain access to future jobs, but it gives us, it should give us, and when done correctly, does give us feedback that influences our curriculum. We have to know what the student experienced so that we can begin to change, particularly our upper division courses, to adjust to what they're finding in the workplace.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Patty Martin, Castle Co-op, and I actually don't have a question, but I need to piggyback on that because in the experiential learning world, as many of you know, the faculty is involved, even when we use the word internship.
Yeah.
It just depends on the approach, and I would like to advocate for a coming together of those approaches across the units, not only in urban futures ties and the DDC and project-based learning ties, but because the external community does care so much and they get so much feedback from our students in the curriculum throughout all the co-ops and internships on campus. We have, I think, 8 separate programs that are distinguished by academic credit, and then we have all these internships and career services experiences. And I would just like to say that if we all could think about those in their diversity as well as their commonalities, we have a lot of wins to make in that world.
We have time for 1 or 2 more questions, if there are any.
Any thoughts on the Notre Dame game coming up? No? No.
There's a tailgate.
Oh, yes, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. So we have our first U of M Dearborn tailgate at the Notre Dame game. So even if you don't want to go to the game or you're afraid of the game, you can come to the tailgate and have fun with students, faculty, alums, staff, and I've invited all the regents, and the regents said that they're going to come to the tailgate. So that's going to be a terrific opportunity for us. So that's going to be our first. And I want to thank our alumni office for pulling all that together. That's going to be a great experience for our
4:30 to 7:30 at Ferry Field.
4:30 to 7:30 at Ferry Field. Yep.
Stop by.
Yep.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. Go Dearborn.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I
Yep.
think there's some extra donuts there. Take one on the way out.
Yep.
And have a great
Thank you.
week.